So once again, this class has sort of, I guess, blown my mind, you could say, because of things that it's brought up that I just never would have thought about. Because I live in a hearing world and I am hearing. Um, and it has to do with deaf people and the disabled community. Now, we've already discussed the fact that deaf people are not inherently disabled. Now, there can be somebody that is deaf that has a disability, but just being deaf does not equal a disability because they can, do pretty much anything they want to besides hear. And one thing that I hadn't thought about was the difficulty of deaf people trying to interact with the disabled community, because most people, that are disabled either can't physically sign or they just don't. Because, most hearing people just don't sign. And it's not that they can't, they just haven't ever tried. But it was just one of those things that I was thinking about, and I was like, wow, I am so lucky that I am a hearing, able-bodied person, and that I don't have to go through all of these things. And another thing that we talked about was the different facets of helping the deaf community or providing access to the deaf community. And it's social, athletic, political, self-help, special interest, spiritual / religious, and large gatherings. And it's like, as hearing people, we don't even have to think twice about these kinds of things. Like, we just go and do and never give it a second thought. But like, the deaf community has to have so much preparation and so much thought put into these things and prepare it, a month in advance. Whereas, maybe not during COVID, but in a normal day, I could, just make plans for 2 days later. And it would go smoothly, there wouldn't be any issues. Whereas if a deaf person were to do that, of course, if it's deaf people within the deaf community, it's not as bad of a thing. But like, as far as like, for example, religious ceremonies go, you have to take the time to hire an interpreter and get word out that like there is going to be access for this thing. And it's just, everything that I learned makes me realize that we still, even though we've come a long way, we still have a great need for advocacy for the deaf community.